Welcome to Organizing My Craft Space Part 1. Please stick around for Parts 2 and 3, which are coming up soon.
Hey guys, it's Gwen. Today I'm going to show you something different than I normally do on my channel. I'm going to do a little organization. This is my little craft corner that I have set up in my dining area, and that's just like one of those cubby storages that I've owned for quite some time. And these Dollar Tree bins are what they have out recently. Super cute and fun colors for spring. And I went ahead and just picked up those three colors, pink, light green, and gray. So the first thing I'm doing here is just showing you a sped up version of me going through my bins, which as you can see were all overfilled and distorted because the bins were just overcrowded and everything. So all I'm doing is going through each one by one. This first one that I happened to pull out was the Christmas bin. So I'm showing you all the little Christmassy items that I had stored in there. But along the way, I do find a lot of other random bits and bobs that don't belong, because that's what happens when you craft and you don't necessarily have time to put things back where they belong. So you just sort of stick them wherever you find space, and that's sort of how it got to this state. But I do like to go through my cubby storages every maybe 6 months or so, just to refresh it, especially when Dollar Tree comes out with these fun, colorful storage containers. It usually inspires me to purchase new ones and clean out the bins and replace them. So this is exactly what started this whole thing. I knew I had to get to this point of cleaning the storage bins out again because it was about that time. It was starting to be difficult to find things or remember where I had placed things, even though I have labels put onto each of these bins. They were no longer identifying the things that actually were inside because everything was just sort of a mishmash of all the different types of crafty items that I have. So first thing I was doing here was just removing all of the Christmas items from the old bin and adding them to the new bin. The larger things in here were like the snow globe, plastic snow globe items from Dollar Tree. Now those do tend to take up a lot of space. If I had more storage spaces or areas that I can actually put those in, I probably would opt to do that. But at this time, I am fresh out of storage, so into the bins they go. Now, all these little small pieces of Christmas, like ornament decor piece, they originally were just being stored directly into the bins, but I decided I was going to start corralling all of the items that goes into the bins into individual Ziploc bags. I felt like this was a better way of organizing and to actually see the items that I did have, because in the past, as you can tell, I just sort of place all the things inside of the bins, and what ends up happening is that they do tend to get buried down below, and it's never to be seen again because realistically, when you're crafting in the middle of a project, who has time to dig to the very bottom of a bin? I know I don't. I tend to just try to grab the first thing I find. So then I'm not able to actually utilize all the things that I have and all the supplies that I have because everything is buried and hidden. And so this can limit my creativity sometimes because I will just grab the first thing I see, and it might not necessarily be the best option, but it's whatever I can find at that moment. So as I was going through this bin right here in front of me, it was like the Christmas bin. I was just sorting all the things in different bags, like I mentioned, and I wanted to keep all of like the unfinished wood words, cutouts, things like that that could fit into one Ziploc bag, and then also one for bottle brush trees. And what else? I also had a bag of like random pom poms, and also a bag of Christmas type of greenery or florals.
So any scraps or anything like that, I do like to hold on to, as they do come in handy when you need just a small piece of something to finish off a project. So as you can see here, I was finding a lot of unfinished wood pieces for everyday type decor. And anything I didn't want in this bin or in the new bin, which is going to be the Christmas bin, I just removed it altogether, and then I was going to go ahead and delegate them to the other appropriate bins. So this is sort of how I continued on with my process. As you can see there, I'm also finding like some fall items, galvanized metal signs and whatnot. All of those have a separate bag, which I will go ahead and group. And I was just putting aside anything that didn't belong and just keeping everything that's Christmas all together until I moved on to the next bin. So there really was no rhyme or reason or any particular order that I was working on this. I basically just worked from the top row of my cubby storage from left to right, and so on and so forth. And like I said, if taking all the bins out and removing all the items all at once is easier for you, because it might work for some people to actually see everything all at once by removing all the items, placing them in front of you, and then going through everything and then sorting them that way. That also works. But I was, again, working with very limited space here in this corner. So I just went bin by bin instead. Another option, if you're organizing like boxes or bins like these, and you're deciding to sort them out in bags like I'm doing here with the Ziploc bags, what might also work is if you have like a ton of things for a particular group or category, you can also use like larger storage containers if you have more room, and just box them up that way.
And I did end up with 2 bins of Christmas things. Truth be told, I do have a lot of like Christmas DIY craft supplies and things like that, and decorations that I like to use for DIY. So that is probably the one that I have the most of when it comes to crafting supplies. Now, realistically, if like I said, if I had more storage space and it was more feasible, I would opt to just move out all of my Christmas decorations and DIY items to a like a one of those big totes, those plastic containers that you store like Christmas decor in, and just sort of put them all together, because that way would free up like a couple of these storage bins for things that I can actually use or need to use throughout the year. But right now, for the sake of just rearranging things, I'm just going to keep them in here. If I decide that I'm going to do that later, then I will just go ahead and do so. But I just kept moving on with the process. Like I said, bin by bin, I worked through the next bin. It was fall items, and like I said, I was finding a lot of fall things and other types of decorations within each of the bins. So it was really interesting to pull out like different things that did not belong to that particular storage container, and it's just like, okay, like this is crazy because things have gotten out of control.
But nevertheless, that is why it was time to finally get things organized so that it can make for a better
situation, um, and make it a lot easier, especially when I'm doing my videos. Now here's a look at my bin filled with wood craft items, wood blanks, those little chalkboard houses, any small parts like Jenga blocks and any tiny pieces of wood went into a separate small uh, plastic container. Also clothespins and things like that. As I moved along this process, I did keep coming across more and more of the clothespins, so I did have to eventually transfer those to a bigger bag. This just goes to show you how having like items spread about throughout your whole craft area can definitely make you think that you have less of it or that you don't have any. But once you, have everything grouped together, you'll definitely get a bigger picture of how much you really have. So this is a good point to make of why it's important to group your items that are similar, and that way you just have a clearer picture of how much you actually have, and that way it can also help you to spend less and not go out and have to purchase more of the same things and doubling or tripling up your supplies. So this bin right here is the moss and greenery bin. It's more so the moss bin because this is where I keep all of my Spanish moss, reindeer moss, floral moss, sheet moss, anything like that. I do use moss frequently in my DIY projects. So any of the moss that was had small amounts left over in the bags, I just went ahead and combined them with other bags that were half filled as well. That's also a good tip when you are rearranging or reorganizing, is to basically combine your items. If they're like half empty, it's just go ahead and combine it with another pack so that it limits your amount of bags, you know, in your bin, and it takes up less space. And that's what I did with that particular bin. It's just I combined things and as much as I could. And then I did forget to mention I was reusing those chalkboard tags from my previous bins. I think I've used those like 3 times now in the amount of time that I've owned this cubby storage. So each time that I replace those bins, I just reuse those. Sometimes I'm able to erase the chalk marker and rewrite over it, but sometimes I am not able to. So if I have any extras on hand, I just replace them. I also have other chalkboard tags from Dollar Tree, but since the majority of them are already in this style, I just like to keep them all uniform. But
One day when I decide to change those out completely, I do have other styles. I believe I have one that's like a chalkboard heart tag. I have a lot of those on hand. I also bought a lot of like the galvanized metal tags recently from Hobby Lobby during their clearance, but Dollar Tree carries those as well. So if I decide that I wanted to change those out, I can easily do that. But in the meantime, I'm just going to reuse these since the tags I have on here are in perfect condition. So this next bin is a Valentine's bin, and I didn't have a whole lot in this bin. I think I might have other items and crafty items like in different parts of my storage or my craft area, possibly in different containers. So I'm sure once I come across any other Valentine's items, it will be added to this bin here. So I just really kept it simple, just anything related to Valentine's, hearts, heart-shaped wood cutouts, heart words that were meant for Valentine's. Any of these trims right here, pom-pom, lace trims, I went ahead and added in its own container or separate bag. I also had like some random galvanized metal signs and then these silicone molds I also found and came across. I got those last year. I just threw them into the bin. They didn't really fit into any of the categories, so anything that's sort of random and doesn't necessarily fit in with a certain category, I just threw them into the bin. Those are big enough to find, so I wasn't worried about it like getting buried or lost in the bins. So the next bin here I'm working on is another craft bin, like a crafty wood bin and miscellaneous like wood craft items. So sometimes I have like frames that I might have taken apart, which I haven't used, or like those houses or strung beads, wood beads, things like that. I just went ahead and threw into that bin. This next bin here is going to be Easter and spring. So I do have a lot of these galvanized metal decor. They're like the unfinished, not unfinished, but they're like plain. They have no wording or anything on them, and they're like blank. So basically, I was just gonna toss them into this bin with the Easter stuff. But initially, I was just throwing them at the bottom of the bin. But again, I decided, let's keep with the storage bags idea. It just keeps everything sort of upright, standing position, easier to find and grab. And anything that I can fit in that bag, anything that was galvanized, I just tossed in there. Again, this is just going to make for an easier way to find these when I decide that I wanted to make a project using like the galvanized metal. And then the next thing was the Easter bag. So anything I found that was related to Easter, any wood cutouts, any wood words, little embellishments, they just went into this bag right here. And if your little wood words still come in the box, you can remove them from the box if the box is opened already and you've already used like a couple of them and you only have like one left over. It's probably best option is to just remove it from the box and then just add it into the baggie. So if they were never open, I just kept them in the original packaging. The only thing I worry about sometimes when removing those words from its packaging is the possibility of it getting broken. But hopefully by categorizing things like this and putting them in the Ziploc bags and keeping them like in an upright position will sort of help prevent that from happening, because I was encountering a lot of broken wood word pieces at the bottom of my bin, and that's just from things piling on top of each other, stacking on top of each other, and eventually just snapping off. So here I'm just finding all of my more blanks. This is more like chalkboards, things like that. Those ones is going to go in that one bin that I just finished, which is the wood blanks bin. And then all of these like carrots and things like that for Easter is just going to go into that Easter bin. So this was really fun to do. I love going through my stuff and just discovering like things that I might have not seen in a while. And then it sort of gives you that aha moment where you're like, oh wow, there's that item that I've been looking for. Does that ever happen to you guys? Please comment down below and let me know I'm not alone. LOL. This next bin that I'm working on is fall items. So fall is like another one of my favorite holidays that I do like to DIY and decorate for. And so I do have a tendency to have an excessive amount of craft items. So I'm just arranging all of my like burlap leaves, felt leaves, things like that, any of the little floral embellishments, and little mini hay bales. I just stuck those all into one bag. Now some of the bigger like leaf cutouts didn't fit into the bag, so I just kept them in the bin directly. And I also did come across some pine cones that were more related to fall. I do have a bag of pine cones, primarily like a winter looking ones, you know, with like the snow, the faux snow on them, and some of the regular looking pine cones. But I kept those together, and then the mini pine cones that were more for fall, I kept that with the fall bin. So this next bin I'm working on is just a hodgepodge of things. This started out as like my miscellaneous bin. At one point, it's where I kept like extra odds and ends that didn't necessarily have like a specific category, didn't really fit in with any of the other items. So I did just keep them in here, but as you can see, it became overrun with so many random things that didn't belong in here. I have things from Christmas to fall to hooks, anything you can imagine. Even like those decorative napkins. So I did remove all those things, and this is what I decided to use for storing all of those Christmas things that I just bagged. But I do have and will have another extra empty bin, which I will then make into a miscellaneous bin. And then I'll also have another one that's just meant for like hooks and knobs. How many of you crafters out there love buying knobs or drawer pulls? I know I do when I especially see them at Hobby Lobby on clearance. I can't resist because their drawer pulls and knobs are super adorable. And when they go down and mark down for a good sale or clearance price, it gets super cheap. And I'm always thinking of like the possible DIYs I could make or use those drawer pulls or knobs for. There's just so many uses for them. You can use them as hooks, like if you wanted to make like a decorative jewelry hanger. You can use like cute little crystal knobs, or even like a variety of different knobs and make a cute little jewelry hanger, or use like hooks on a sign, you know, make like a cute little sign for, let's say, a hat or accessories, or even like as a coat hook. I mean, there's so many possibilities and many uses for those drawer pulls and knobs. Have you guys tried using any of those items for DIYing with? I'd love to hear what you've come up with. But this is the miscellaneous bin that I was mentioning. So I was just throwing in some things that, like I said, didn't really have a home, and just random items. But in the end, I did have to sort of rearrange things a little bit. Like sometimes, when you're done organizing, you go back and do a once over and realize, like, okay, that doesn't necessarily belong there. Let me put it here instead, and this might fit in better here with this grouping, you know, and that's fine. That's normal. Like, it's just like decorating for me. It's like when I create vignettes in my home or put out decorations for holidays. It takes me a while to really be set on a certain placement because I'm very fickle when it comes to decorating, and where I might have initially started with might not necessarily be the way it ends up, if that makes any sense. So sometimes I might display things a certain way, and then I'll stare stare at it for a few days. I'll look at it, kind of look around my house, and decide that, it will look better in this area or this position, or if I add this to it, it might look a little bit better. Well, that's sort of like how it is with organizing. So, like, you go through your organization, and then you take a step back, whether it be the same day or whether it be like the next day or next week. But then you realize, like, I think this would look better here, or this might work better there. So, so you definitely have to decide what is manageable and what makes sense for you. Because at the end of the day, this is your space and it has to work for you. So, you have to figure that out for yourself. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do here. Hopefully, this style of video is okay for you guys that are watching. I do appreciate you guys sticking around if you have made it to this point. If you like organization and you love crafting, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'd love to have you join my YouTube family. And thanks again to all my YouTube subscribers and viewers. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. And if you guys can do me a favor and check if you all are still subscribed, if you were subscribed in the beginning, and if you can just do me a solid and check that you are still subscribed, that would greatly be appreciated, because I'm getting feedback from people that they are being unsubscribed. And I've heard this from other content creators that this is happening to them as well. So if you can please check for me and make sure that you are still subscribed to my channel. That is, if you still want to be subscribed to my channel, just make sure that YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you. Thanks so much. I'd greatly appreciate that. So getting back to this organization, look at my little kitty. His name is Cheeto. He always has to be in the mix when I'm crafting or when I'm in the middle of organizing or anything. He just loves playing with all the things that he sees. He thinks it's his toy, it's his playground. There he is being silly. But anyways, he keeps me company. So moving back to this organization, I'm on to organizing the hooks and the drawer knobs and pulls bin. And these LED lights that you are seeing came from that miscellaneous bin that I mentioned earlier. I did have to isolate them into their own bag, and that's going to go into the new miscellaneous bin. Now, I did have to make a separate knobs and hooks bin because I do have a good collection of them, and they do take up an ample amount of space. I also had like other like decorative hooks that came from Dollar Tree, like with the little words and things like that, that I added to the same hooks bin, since it is similar. So I hope that you guys are enjoying this video so far, and if I've given you any types of ideas or tips or anything like that, or maybe even just motivated you to go clean out your own craft space or craft room, I would love it if you'd give me a thumbs up and give me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you, or just say hello. So we're almost at the end of this organization. As you can see here, I'm just debating on where to place these last few items that I have in my hands. So those things on the right, they're like the geode looking hooks from Dollar Tree. I just added that to the knobs and the hooks bin, since they are some type of hook, or you know, like a drawer, or like a decorative hook that you can hang on your wall. So moving on to the last bin of this storage unit, I'm working on my scrap felt and fabric bin. So if you are a crafter, then you know that we like to hold on to scraps, even if it doesn't make sense to just anyone, or you know, someone who doesn't necessarily craft, but we like to hold on to scraps. Why? Because those little small pieces might come in handy, right, for the next project. I know sometimes I grab for like a small piece of fabric, and they're just good to have on hand because you never know when you're going to need a small piece. So there really was no organizing this bin. It was just a matter of just sort of refolding things and getting rid of any tiny pieces of scrap felt or fabric that was not going to be of any use to me, especially if I had like other extras on hand. I just got rid of the ones that were just excess. So I have these rolled up fabrics here. These are all from the Dollar Tree. These have not been unrolled, as you can see. They still have the sticker packaging around them. I had these flatter looking storage containers that I picked up from Dollar Tree. I believe it was sometime last year. I wish they'd bring them back again this year because they are really nice storage containers. So all I did was took the rolled up fabrics and just used that flat container just to store those rolled fabrics. And I had a second one on hand, and I did the same for the second container as well. Now I debated on these folded fat quarters, I think they're called that. They're from Walmart. I was just gonna stack them on top of the rolled fabrics, but it was a little too full in that container, so I decided against it. I did have this sort of deeper container also from Dollar Tree, and these, like I said, these containers are super nice. They have like the latch on each side, and they came like in a variety of like colors. I don't know if you guys have seen these in the past, but I really like them a lot, and they're just perfect, you know, for craft storage. So I took my folded fabric pieces and things that were even like still bundled like that right there in the middle, and just stood them up just like so. And they were just perfect for storing in an upright position, just the right size for this, the depth of this container. So I just continued to find all of my fabrics that I had sort of spread about in different places, and then added what I could fit into this container. And that was it for this um, storage here. And here is a scrap felt bin that I was talking about. As you can see, there's just a lot of cut up pieces of fabric and felt pieces. And all I did was remove any excess pieces of fabric that had very little left over, or just things that I knew I really didn't need, or I haven't used in a long time, and just got rid of those. And then there's really no rhyme or reason to organizing this particular bin other than to just refold the fabric pieces, and that was about it. So let's take a final look at the finished results of my organization. I wanted to show you a quick glimpse into each of the bins, just showing how each of the bags looked after I categorized the items into the bags. Now, not everything got bagged. There are certain things, obviously, that were not necessarily ideal for putting into a bag because of their size. So those things were just kept out in the original packaging or as is. I was primarily concerned with like wood items, like little wood cutouts, little embellishments, seasonal, embellishments and decor craft items that were easily lost. I wanted to categorize and corral them into one bag. Now this right here is the Christmas bin, one of the Christmas bins. And as you can see, majority of them did not have a bag because they were big items like those snow globes. And this is the fall bin right here. And you can see that most of the things were in the storage bags. So some items were easily categorized while others were just kept out the way they were. And again, some of these bins didn't necessarily look very organized, but the main objective of me organizing it in this way was just so that I had similar items in one area. So specifically like holidays, seasonal decor, things like that, wood items, wood blanks. It's just easier to locate things when you have them categorized in that fashion. So at least for me, this is the method that works for myself. So while the bins might still look disorganized, with like some random things strewn about, the important thing is that at least it's in the correct bin that it's supposed to be in. And the majority of the things that were able to be bagged up were bagged, and it just, made it look a little bit better. And again, just for the ease of being able to find things, and that essentially was the whole point of organizing the space. So I want to thank you all again for watching, especially if you made it to the very end. I so appreciate you guys for sticking with me. I know this was a super long video, especially for me. I'm not usually one to make such a long video like this. However, keep in mind that it did take me like 3 hours to organize just this space that I showed you in this video. So I did have to like condense it into this very short amount of time, even though it was a long video at that. But considering the amount of time it took to actually organize the space, I'd say that that's pretty, good amount of time, I guess. But I do appreciate you guys for sticking with me to the very end. Again, if you enjoyed this video and got any ideas, inspiration, motivation, any of that, please leave me a comment down below. And if you have any tips for me, please share in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And I always appreciate a thumbs up. And if you can like and share my videos with anyone who might be interested in this type of content. I share a lot of Dollar Tree DIYs and home decor, budget-friendly DIY, seasonal decor, gardening type content, shopping hauls, anything that has to do with being creative and crafty. this is the channel for you. So please join my YouTube family. Oh, and before I forget to mention, this is part one of a three-part series of organizing my craft space. So please stay tuned for part 2 and 3, where I show you how I organize the top of my cubby storage as well as my craft armoire. So please subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss those videos. Thanks for watching.